All right, we've got a lot to talk about when it comes to the California weather forecast. Top story for today is the thunderstorms that could be building in over the next couple of days. I will remind you, stay tuned for the end of this forecast where I'll try my best to answer any questions that have been posted in the live chat. So, lots to talk about today. I think the good place to start is always by looking at the current conditions. This is the satellite imagery across the state right now, and for the most part, it looks like clear skies across the state. What you do notice, though, are those clouds sitting right off the coastline and even intruding into some of our valleys and areas around the bays. For example, in the North Bay and the Salinas Valley, over parts of Los Angeles, you see those low clouds, and that marine layer and that fog is really pushing over the coastline there. And that, I think, is one of the big stories going on over the next couple of days as that marine layer actually starts to deepen. So you can also see why the coasts are remaining a lot cooler than some of our inland areas right now. If we look at the water vapor, you just notice the direction that water vapor is coming from. It's coming from the ocean being pushed onshore. So it's taking this cool, moist ocean air and pushing it along the coast, which is keeping those temperatures nice and cool. So you can see that perfectly if we look at the temperature anomaly map here. That basically is just a fancy way of saying how far off are your temperatures today from what the averages say they should be today. So, for example, in northern parts of the Sacramento Valley and parts of the San Joaquin Valley, you can see we're 20 to 30 degrees above average temperatures. So, extremely warm temperatures there. But then right along the coast, you can see that blue color, which actually represents either mild or below average temperatures. For example, right around parts of San Luis Obispo, it looks like we're even 10 degrees below average. So that's the influence of that marine layer really creeping in along the coast. So what I always like to do is see how these temperature averages are going to change over the next few days, because that gives you a good idea of what's going to be going on in the weather forecast. So you can see getting into Friday, or this is actually this afternoon, we've got warm temperatures in the valleys and then cooler temperatures along the bays and along the coast associated with that marine layer. If we go into Saturday, oops, clicked out right there. If we go into Saturday afternoon, you can see there's a bit of a change going on here. Or no, let's go to Friday afternoon. Sorry, clicking away got me a little confused right there. So Friday afternoon is right there. You can see that the valley actually cools down a little bit from what it is today, but it's still certainly warm, 20 to 25 degrees above average in Sacramento Valley. Although, similar story, the bays and the coastline remain below average with that marine layer in place. Now, if we go to Saturday afternoon, we've got some cooler temperatures up in the Sierras, and that is actually the second biggest part of the story today, because that has to do with the low pressure system that's going to be moving in that is also causing that thunderstorm threat. So if we just click through right here, you can see that for the most part, there's not really any dominant feature over California. It looks like there's somewhat of a ridge, but it's nothing too extreme like what we've been seeing in some of our last few weeks. Now here's where things get very interesting in the weather forecast. It's this cutoff low that is going to be breaking off and moving into Northern California on Friday afternoon into Saturday morning. You can see for a second there on Saturday afternoon, it actually looks like it starts to strengthen, and that's what these thunderstorms are associated with. That's also what's bringing those cooler temperatures into the Sierras on Saturday. Now we're also going to see that move into Southern California getting into Sunday, and that's going to be affecting the temperatures down there as well. So if we click into Sunday now, you can see the large effect on temperatures that this low pressure system is going to have. Northern parts of California, especially in the valley, still for the most part above average temperatures, especially in the valley, but where that storm is really bringing some of that thunderstorm activity like the Sierras, and then on Sunday all the way down into Southern California, that's where we have this huge contrast in temperatures. So I think this map perfectly matches this map. You have overall ridge conditions over much of the west, so that's why Northern California is still above average temperatures on Sunday, but then the low pressure system directly over SoCal. So you can see that in the difference of the temperatures. NorCal, above average temperatures, while SoCal on Sunday, 10 to 20 degrees below average temperatures. So I might have spent too long trying to explain that, but I think it's pretty interesting to see just how this low pressure system is going to be affecting the temperatures across the state. Now, the bigger story associated with that low pressure system, though, are the thunderstorms that could be coming in with it. So this is what is expected on Friday. It says scattered thunderstorms Friday, most likely time frame 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. And you can see it's just this very northern and especially northeastern part of California. So what this means is there's the possibility of lightning, some gusty winds, possibly a little bit of rain. That's the good news in the story. But unfortunately, a lot of that area is still dry. As we saw, it's still above average temperatures, so there is the possibility of some of that lightning causing some fires. Now, in the grand scheme of things, over 90% of fires are started by humans, so I wouldn't be more afraid about this than just your average day where people are in these dry areas. So if we want to actually see where some of these thunderstorms are expected to be coming in on Friday, looks like nothing's showing up at 11 a.m., but then by the time we get to 2 p.m., we start to see some of these scattered thunderstorms popping up. And again, I will tread with caution here because this is one of those systems, as I showed, it's one of these cut-off low pressure systems. This is one of the things that I think the models have the biggest trouble with. For example, there's a chance that this low doesn't even break off. It stays attached to that system in Canada, and this doesn't happen. But the fact that this is only 1 day out means that the probability is pretty good at this chance that we are going to be getting some thunderstorms. So stay tuned for tomorrow morning's forecast where the confidence in these models will be even better. But overall, I'd say there's a good chance that this ends up happening. So by 2 p.m., that's where it expects some of these thunderstorms to be popping up and then spreading out, getting into Friday evening. You can see it covers a much larger area, and then we start to get more intensity as some of that moisture is combined with some of those warm afternoon temperatures. That goes into Friday night, and then all the way into Saturday early morning is when we get a little ease up in the system. You might think it's gone, but then on Saturday, the area covered in thunderstorms is actually expected to increase. And it looks like it's most likely on Sunday, or most likely Saturday and Sunday, especially working into the Sierras here. So if we continue here into Saturday, you can see that's where it's spreading out into the Sierras. Also has it showing up for the western parts of California, but that's not included. I guess that's a little bit included here in the National Weather Service forecast, but maybe not as far south as it's showing right there. But that's Saturday afternoon. You can see it extending throughout much of Northern California. And again, those are the thunderstorms. Then it eases up Sunday morning, and then Sunday afternoon kicks back up again, especially in the Sierras. Notice how the thunderstorms calm down in the morning and then pick back up again in the afternoon. That has to do with all sorts of things like CAPE and instability. Maybe I'll do a whole video on how to forecast thunderstorms in the future. So that's the big story of what's going on in Northern California. And unfortunately, I know you're thinking, thunderstorms coming in, that's going to be great. It's going to bring us some good rainfall, and that'll help with the drought. But if we actually look at how much precipitation we're expected to get with this, it's 0.1, 0.2 inches. I'd say at most, maybe some very select areas that can get up into the 0.5 inch range. But for the most part, this is more just almost kind of a novelty storm. Not going to be one of those big atmospheric rivers that brings us multiple inches of rainfall. So unfortunately, they're not going to be helping us out with the drought too much. But the other thing it is going to be bringing is some changes to our temperatures. We can see that here. Here's your high temperature forecast for today. Here you can see 96 in Chico, 86 in Sacramento, 65 in Santa Rosa. So you already notice the big differences here because of some of the things we were talking about earlier. The northern parts of the valley, extremely warm up into the mid-90s, but where we have that marine layer pushing in along the coast with that fog and that onshore flow, that is what's keeping those temperatures around the bay nice and cool. Santa Rosa, mid-60s, can't complain there. San Francisco, 53. You might think we're still in January or February with a temperature like that. So if we go into Friday afternoon, you can see how these temperatures are going to be changing. Northern parts of the valley, for today's highs, we're in the mid-90s, but as that low pressure system comes through, it brings us back into the high 80s and the low 90s. Now again, that's still above average temperatures, but it's at least a cool down from what we're seeing today. Then if we look at Saturday afternoon, it cools down even more as that low pressure system continues to fill in directly over Northern California, bringing the valley into the low 80s to mid 80s. And then again, the coast is just affected by that marine layer and that onshore flow over the next few days. The other key thing to look at here is in the Sierras, we're actually seeing that blue color pop up, which means below freezing temperatures, which means there's the possibility that some of this rain could fall as snow. We might even be able to look at that if we go total accumulated snowfall. I wasn't actually planning to do this, but now that I saw that the temperatures are going to be below freezing in some places, interesting to see if we're getting any snowfall. Looks like not much. It looks like there's the possibility of maybe an inch or 2 inches of snow in the very southern parts of the Sierras here, but I'd say nothing to get too excited about. And it does make sense that it's more so in the southern Sierras. As you can see, that's where the cooler temperatures are. So overall, to sum up Northern California, we got thunderstorms coming in the very northern parts of the state on Friday, spreading out all the way throughout Northern California and the Sierras on Saturday and Sunday, not bringing all that much rain, maybe just 0.1 inches. And then it is going to be cooling our temperatures down in the valley while the coast continues to be affected by the marine layers. Now, this is something I showed earlier in the video. The temperatures, I believe, in Southern California are going to be affected by that low pressure system moving in even more. I'll just show it one more time. There's that cutoff low moving through NorCal, causing our thunderstorms up there, then moving directly over Southern California. So what that's going to do is bring our temperatures way down. If you look at right now, before that low comes in, Bakersfield, you're expected to be 99 today. Los Angeles, 70 degrees. Riverside, 77. San Diego, you're getting that marine influence, so you're still in the low 60s. If we look at tomorrow, this is also still before that low moves in. Bakersfield, once again, warm, 98 degrees. Similar temperatures throughout LA and San Diego. Now as we get into Saturday, that's where we start to feel the first effects of this low coming in. You see the southern Sierras here getting into those below average temperatures. That's where we're able to pick up maybe an inch or 2 inches of snow right there. But then you see Los Angeles getting into the mid 60s, and this is actually just going to continue into Sunday. You're then into the low 60s, both in LA all the way down into San Diego, and that's associated with that low pressure system moving directly over this region, bringing those cooler temperatures down with it, and even parts of the San Joaquin Valley into the low to mid 80s as that low moves through as well. So what's interesting is to see if there's any thunderstorms expected for SoCal. As of right now, National Weather Service isn't issuing any warnings or anything for Southern California, but just looking at the model here, it's interesting to see if any pop up. There we are on Sunday morning. You can see those thunderstorms into the southern parts of the Sierras, and then that's expected to actually move into Southern California Sunday afternoon. Looks like there's the chance of some thunderstorms throughout much of Southern California on Sunday, and then by Monday, that's gone. Now, I know you're probably thinking the same thing we're thinking about in NorCal. Could this bring some great rain to the area? And unfortunately, not going to be all that much rain. Clicking all the way through, this is all the way through Monday, so when this thunderstorm possibility is completely gone, and it looks like the most rainfall we're expected to get is maybe 0.1 inches of rain at most. More likely, the larger effects that you're going to be feeling in Southern California are actually just going to be from the marine layer. This, I think, is going to have a larger impact on your weather than any of those thunderstorms will. And you can see that this is actually what's already affecting your weather. We got those low clouds in that marine layer all the way over Los Angeles, over San Diego. That's keeping your temperatures a lot cooler, and that's actually going to be increasing as that low moves in. It's going to deepen the marine layer, and that'll bring some low clouds, some fog, some just those coastal conditions right over your coastal cities over the next few days, and that'll most likely be increasing as that marine layer continues to deepen, causing some of that drizzle throughout our coastal cities. So I think that's actually the bigger part of the story. Valley remains warm in the 90s and mid 80s. Coast is going to be going down into the low to mid 60s, both with that low pressure system and that marine influence that we're already seeing right now. So overall summary of the video, we've got a ridge over California. That's what's causing our temperatures to be all the way 20 to 30 degrees above average, but we've got this cutoff low pressure system moving in Friday, bringing some possible thunderstorms to Northern California on Friday afternoon. That's going to actually strengthen possibility of bringing some thunderstorms to the Sierras on Saturday and Sunday. Then that's going to be moving into Southern California, bringing possibility of thunderstorms, but most likely just a large decrease in temperatures, getting all the way down into the low to mid 60s. And overall, I'd say, unfortunately, we're not going to be getting any large rainfall with this storm, but it'll certainly be interesting to watch this and see what ends up happening. So here's just your Storm Prediction Center outlook. There's Friday afternoon, where we're expecting the thunderstorms in Northern California. And then here's looking at Saturday, where those thunderstorms extend into the parts of the Sierras. So key thing I would emphasize here is to stay tuned for tomorrow morning's forecast, because those cutoff low pressure systems, like I said, not the best at forecasting. The low pressure systems like that are very subject to change in a weather forecast, so be sure to stay tuned for tomorrow's forecast, where I'll be going over it again. So now we'll take a look at some of the questions that have been posted in the live chat to see what people are thinking. So we got somebody saying weather has certainly changed. It was super warm, now it's getting very cool, and I would say that's going to be the trend that is continuing over the next few days. If we go here, that is what it looked like yesterday afternoon, where we're 30 degrees above average. That is going to be continuing into this afternoon in the northern parts of the valley, but then as we continue to click through here, what you'll just notice, if you just kind of don't focus on the numbers and just almost blur your eyes, you notice that you just see a lot more of that blue color popping up throughout the state. What that blue color means is actually below average temperatures. That's what is going to be brought into California as that low pressure system moves through. Now, somebody commented, hopefully no major fire outbreaks from the lightning storms. I would say that is actually a terrific point to bring up, because if you think back to last year with the August complex and the LNU lightning complex and all those fires that initially started, remember it was a lightning storm that really caused that entire firestorm in the first place. I believe it was called Tropical Storm Fausto. It was off the coast of Mexico, and it just funneled in a bunch of moisture, and that's what caused about 300 to 500 fires to start all across the state last year, and that was what really overwhelmed our CAL FIRE resources and then allowed some of those fires to get really out of hand. Now, if you need some good news there, I would say that this little cutoff low pressure system that we're talking about moving through the state is looking like a much smaller and more isolated system than that large firestorm that got kicked off last year. Last year, when we were looking at the water vapor imagery, we just had, it almost looked like a river flowing into California. That's what really kicked off those thunderstorms all across the state. I'm not expecting that to happen with this storm, but again, knock on wood, we'll certainly have to stay tuned. So somebody said they need some rain here at Topaz Lake. I would say the entire state of California needs some rain. If we look at, let's take a look at the drought monitor. This is always a good thing to check out. And we'll go, we'll keep it on the national so you can see what's going on across the country as well. you can see that majority of California is now in that severe drought category, and that's the bright red is the extreme drought category, and that burgundy color is the exceptional drought category. So seems like every time I show this map, it continues to extend farther and farther out into the state, and the colors here just get darker and darker red. Obviously, that's not some good news, and unfortunately, this storm that we're having right now is not going to be bringing more rainfall with it. But at this point in time, there's really not much we can do except for maybe just hope for one last crazy May storm that could possibly bring in some rain. But as of right now, I'm not thinking the chances are looking pretty good. So we also have a comment here. Do you think we will be in a short drought period of 1 to 3 years or a longer drought period of 3 to 10 years? Now, that is a terrific question, and something I was actually hoping to be able to answer over this last week. I've been going back through my old climatology textbook and also researching droughts in California, and turns out it's a pretty hard thing to forecast. Overall, though, I would say that this drought will for sure be continuing throughout at least the start of next winter, because I'm not seeing any large storms coming in, bringing some miracle rainfall to us in either May or June. I'm thinking rainy season's come to an end. At this point, unfortunately, it's just going to get warmer and drier, so that drought is most likely going to be extending. Then the big question is, what ends up happening next winter? Do we get a large amount of rain next winter, or is it another dry year? And at that point, I usually have the rule of thumb that I don't trust a weather model more than 3 days out. So I certainly would have a hard time forecasting what next winter would be like. But just the optimist in me says we're going to get a bunch of rain and it's going to bring the drought to an end. But we'll see if that actually ends up happening. Now, one other thing I will say is, if you look back to my last forecast video, I actually made these figures that show how the drought has been changing over time in California. And if you do need some good news, it's to know that the drought we're in right now is at least not as bad as that drought we had between 2012 and 2017. That was, one research paper said it was the worst drought California had had in 1,000 years. And this one certainly is not at that level yet. So it could be worse. I'll put it that way. So got another comment here. I've been noticing a pattern in a couple years that thunderstorms would appear in the mountains in late March to early May. That's a very interesting comment. And I love the local intel, because where I am, we don't usually get that many thunderstorms. But if I had to, I'll have to look into why that might be. If I had to think about it, it would maybe be the combination of the fact that our temperatures are starting to get warm, but we're still getting some good moisture in with some of those onshore winds that we get a lot during springtime. That's the only combination I could think of right now where you have the combo of moisture and warm temperatures when you're in May to early June. But I'll have to look into that to see if there's actually an increased probability of thunderstorms during this time of the year. I would say it makes sense that there would be. Now we also have, will there be any thunderstorms in San Jose? Let's just go through and click through. We can zoom in on San Jose here. Going through Friday, Saturday, into Sunday. Looks like the closest we get is Saturday at 5 p.m. Looks like there's some possible thunderstorm activity, but that's more in parts of the valley. I'm not expecting any thunderstorms for San Jose, but I would say overall, the best chance of thunderstorms is going to be in the very northern parts of California and the Sierras. But again, not much rain expected overall. So we got one more comment in here. I'll probably make this the last one before I wrap it up. And I'm in Southern California, the high desert. We haven't seen rain in a while. And unfortunately, that is certainly the case. So what I'm trying to type in here is fuel moisture map. because this is one of the big things that I look at when I'm doing my wildfire forecast. If we look at the fuels right now, and especially the 1,000-hour fuels, that's your large fuels, you can see that the majority of California is extremely dry right now. For example, you look at the southeast where it seems like they get 5 inches of rain a day. They have very moist fuels. In California, we have extremely dry fuels, and you see especially down there in Southern California. So fuels are dry. We're also in those drought conditions. Seems like that exceptional drought category continues to extend further into Southern California. So very true comment. I think we've only received about 50% of the rainfall we were supposed to pick up. So that's creating dry fuel conditions and just dry overall drought conditions throughout the state. So I think that's a good place to wrap it up. The final thing I'd say is stay tuned for tomorrow, where we'll see how the possibility of these thunderstorms changes as the forecast models get better and better. So thank you very much. I loved all the great comments today. Thank you also, Lucy, for all the nice compliments. And hope everybody has a nice day today. Should be sunny, should be warm, unless you're along the coast where that marine layer is directly over us. So overall, I'd say thanks for watching and have a good day.